Hey YouTube, I thought I'd go ahead and share with you guys my FrogMonarch deck that I've been working on recently. It's definitely my favorite deck that you can play, and I'm just trying to perfect it for the format since macro has now become such a popular card. But I obviously run the 3 swap frogs, 2 dupe frogs, 2 treeborn frogs, 2 rodentonids. I've been bouncing back and forth between 2 rodentonids and 3 dupe frogs. It's nice. It makes the dupe frog and the swap frog a little more consistent, but it's frustrating when you just wish you had that second rototoad in the grave. 3 rises, and then the 3 Caius. I mean, pretty standard. Best 2 monarchs. And then I run 2 Mobius. It's good for the back row hate, which is this deck's biggest weakness. And then also people forget you can pitch it to special summon the swap frog. I tech a single illusionary snatcher. I love this card. It makes awesome bouncer plays and all the other rank 6s, but it just sucks when you get it stuck in your hand because you really don't want to have to summon it on its own as a desperate play. So I'm just trying to tech 1. Double add, probably the funnest card in this deck, especially when it's late game and your opponent's only got so many cards in their hand. So they're having to waste their outs to try and get rid of this guy. And then I run Lesser Soldier. I have 4 lights in the deck, and then if I could get like a bouncer play off with the Illusionary Snatcher, that play alone is the light and the dark, which is another reason why I love that card so much. You've got Gores, 2 Trags, 2 Veilers, and then I'm running 2 Battle Faders. I know usually you see it in 3s, but I ran out of deck space, and or I wanted to try the Illusionary Snatcher, so I cut it down to 2. And I mean, it hasn't been so bad thus far. And then you've got the staple 3, Heavy Storm, Monster Reborn, and Dark Hole. I run triple MST, since the back row is really, like, if your opponent sets 4 and says go, your monarchs aren't going to be able to 1-for-1 and keep you in that game, so you really got to have an answer for them before you start going off yourself. I run 2 dualities, which is kind of a awkward card in this deck, just because unless you get it turn 1, it hurts because you are reborn, special summoning that treeborn every turn. But turn 1, it makes the deck so much more consistent finding that swap frog, and it's even more fun when you can summon swap frog, ditch the treeborn, and then activate a duality to pull some of those important cards to your hand. I mean, it works really well if you've got a soul exchange. Then you can duality for something else as well. I run 2 soul exchange. Really good card this format. And you can ditch one of their big monsters, summon a Caius, and pop another one of their big monsters. I've been bouncing around between 2 and 3. I could very easily see myself going back to 3, but currently I'm just sitting at 2. I've got 2 enemy controllers. Awesome card in the standby phase, free brain control. But I'm just sitting at 2 right now, just because I'm trying to make the deck a little more consistent with the monsters. I haven't complained yet. It's been working out pretty well. And then my 1 trap is the Treacherous Trap Hole that, for whatever reason, it's gotten really, really good this format. So you see so many different styles of decks running it. I mean, you see it in the Monarchs, the Lancer Frogs. You even saw it in Agents. So I'd have to say it's a really good card right now. My extra deck, I've got the formula for if I bring out the Treeborn and can normal summon Veiler, or Light and Darkness gets blown up, you special summon the Veiler, and then Treeborn comes back in the standby phase. I run the Black Rose Dragon for that every now and then. I mean, I've only summoned it, I think, once, when you've got the Monarch out, and then you summon the Veiler. You've got a Scrap Dragon, it's just another just in case. I've probably only summoned it a couple times, but you just need it to be there. I run 2 Gachis. Love this card. I mean, it's probably the one you summon the most. It's really cool when you can get a Gachi out, and then you normal summon Light and Darkness Dragon, because now that Light and Darkness Dragon has a 5th negation possibility, and it just makes it that much harder to get over. I went down to 1 Daigusto Phoenix. I mean, I go back and forth with this card at 1 and 2. It's a really good card, especially if you have a Ryza out and you use his effects. So now that Ryza can attack twice. But I noticed the deck's a little more consistent when you play slower and you don't try and go for too many Exceed potentials. It's almost a better deck right now if you play defensively than you do that offensive. I run 1 Dark Mist, which is why I really like the second Rodent Totem, because if you're in a bad spot, you don't have any big monsters in your hand, you can normal summon the Swap Frog, pitch the second Rodent Totem, special summon them both, go into Dark Mist, and it's going to stall you at least a couple turns and get over so many different monsters that you wouldn't be able to get over otherwise. I run the Utopia Ray, like so many Monarch decks do. I don't run Utopia, I don't have level 4s, but just that chance that you can enemy controller their Utopia, and then overlay, and now it's yours. And then you've got all the 6s, Exabeetle, Swordbreaker, number 6, Photon Striker, number 25, Gaia Dragon. I mean, you can go over your rank 6 that are potentially like a bouncer that you've already used twice, or if you summon that bouncer, all they do is set a monster next turn, you can now go into Gaia Dragon and attack for piercing. I mean, it's an enemy controller, you can take their 5s and 6s and go into it. And then I've got the number 11. I've only summoned it once, and it just so happened to be when I had a Gores out, and then next turn I had to normal summon the Illusionary Snatcher by itself, and then I went into this and got to take something like their BLS, so it worked out really well. But again, it's just one of those things that's very situational and rarely, if ever, going to happen. The side deck is something I work on a lot. It changes probably every couple of days after some test playing, but this is what I'm at right now. I'm siding Dark Death Spirit instead of maining it like so many people do. I love the card, but I'm not a huge fan of it in the main deck. I'll side it in if it's a matchup that I feel it's really necessary. I've got 1, the End of the Anubis. It's basically the monster variant of a Necrovalley / Soul Drain, because you can't target and effects in the grave can't activate, so it's good against Warmills. And it's a level 6 with 25 attack, so it's that extra 100 attack actually makes a pretty big difference. I run 2 Jinzos against the heavy back row decks. I'll do something like take the Mobiuses out and put the Jinzos. That way, instead of me trying to just pop 2, I've now negated them unless it's like warning. I can negate their back rows and then just try and go off, keeping my Jinzo alive. I've got 2 Vanity's Fiends for things like wind-ups and Hierotics. those decks that just like to go aggro, TK, kind of special summon decks. So I'm one of these, yeah, it paralyzes me too, which is why I'm not the world's biggest fan of the card. Because once it's out, besides like normal summoning my swap frog or like soul exchanging to bring out monarchs, I really don't have any way to pull things out without my special summons out of the grave. So it's just one of those cards I bring out if I really need to. 2 Gemini Imps for Dark Worlds, because those autopilot decks are frustrating to go against. I've got 2 Puppet Plants for like heroes or samurais. I mean, I can't say no to something that gives me extra monsters to potential sacrifice. If I'm having trouble getting my Treeborn back or something, I'll take your monsters and I'll tribute those. I aside 2 Maxis against those same decks that just special summon like crazy. Agents are really nice. I summon the Venus, pay cost, discard Maxi. Now they're having to decide, do they stop after 1 Shine Ball or do they keep going? And then I just get a plus. I run System Down over Cyber Dragon. I love Cyber Dragon because it's a special summon, potential free summon, and it's a light monster. But I feel like System Down is harder for them to prevent. Because when you summon that Cyber Dragon, you could get bottomless, all those different situations where they've got the back row for a monster, but if you think about it, there's not as many cards in the deck that are going to stop a spell, and I'm willing to pay the 1,000 to clear their field and their graveyard, so that all they're doing is they're having to try and draw into what they are going to need to play. And then the last card I have in here is just a Leech in the Light, just because agents sometimes can be frustrating, especially if they're playing the Simon He deck that runs the Treasure Trap Pole. So now I've got all these dead cards like the Mobiuses and the MSTs and the Heavy Storm. So this is a nice card to side into. I'd like to side 2, but I couldn't find the space for it. And I was even considering not even siding it at 1, just having the 3rd Soul Exchange in the side deck. But I've currently got this in there just so I can throw it in for that kind of matchups. So yeah, that's my deck. Please comment. Let me know what you think. I love advice. Any recommendations you have for me, just let me know. And thanks for watching.